Hello, everybody, and welcome to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. I am your co-host, Julian Huguet.
I am also a co-host, Trace Dominguez.
And today, we have a studio guest. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sophie Shrand.
Yay! Sophie, what do you do?
What do? I am a science educator. I'm a comedian. I'm an improviser. I'm an actor, creator, host, producer, and entrepreneur.
Do you do puzzles?
I love puzzles.
Yeah, that's what we meant. We didn't, want to know your background or profession. We're like,
Thank God.
How into puzzles are you?
I'm pretty into puzzles. I haven't done a physical puzzle in a long time, but I love them. I actually climb rocks. I rock climb, and that is very puzzle heavy.
Oh, yeah. It's like that is a physical puzzle, but like a body pathing puzzle. So this is a show where we, science educators, have decided that, you know what, we actually still have a lot of dumb questions of our own that we might be embarrassed to admit that we have.
Yeah.
But we still have them.
Yeah.
So in order to get them answered, we thought it would be fun to assign them to each other and then research each other's questions and see what ridiculous answers we come up with to these ridiculous premises.
Yeah, we're going to take all of our powers of deduction, research, and mostly Googling and put them toward questions that are just ridiculous.
Yeah, embarrassing, frankly.
Yeah.
So this week, Sophie actually had what is going to be the question I'm going to answer. So, Sophie, what was your question?
I'm really excited to ask this question and to find the answer to it. My first question that came to mind was based on a fact someone threw out when I was in New Zealand. I heard somebody say that there are more sheep than people in New Zealand. And I thought, is that true? And then it made me think, what if that were true? And what if it were true across the whole world? What if across the world there were more sheep than people?
I have to give you props because the premise of the show is like, what's a dumb question? And you were like, I got you, fam.
I got this.
I was like, Trace, I don't know if this is what you mean, but this is the first thing that comes to mind.
And we were both immediately
yes,
like, yes.
Got it. I'm on it. We were like fighting over. No, I'm going to answer that. What if more sheep than people?
Great.
I took the mantle on this one. I think first thing I wanted to answer, because I think it's good to just double check your premise, is are there currently more sheep than people? Because if there are, then we're done here, right? Like
right.
things
I've
continue
heard that.
as normal and we all move on with our day and your segment's very short. There are not.
Oh.
So there's actually about 8 billion people. We're like at or about to tick over that mark. So congrats everybody on 8 billion. We did it. Trace, you contributed to that. So way
Thanks.
to go.
I did my best. I made one contribution. Just one.
The sheep population, however, is less than 1.2 billion. So we outnumber them almost 8-1. So good job, everybody. We're still in charge here.
That's still a lot.
That's like a lot of sheep. 1 billion sheep.
I actually wanted to tackle this question because, as it happens, I had been thinking about sheep lately. Yeah, because I wanted to know, I look at other, domesticated animals, and to me, for the most part, it's pretty obvious where things come from, like dogs, wolves.
Right.
Cats, not domesticated, still wild animals that we cohabitate with, if you ask me.
Barley's going to attack you for that.
Yeah, see? And prove my point. Fall right into it. But sheep, what wild animal that's still out there did sheep come from? Any guesses?
Ooh.
My first thought is goats.
Wrong, but...
Oh.
Sophie?
Woolly mammoths.
I mean...
Can you be here all the time? 'Cause, I just want to see how your brain works. Sheep are the first domesticated animal. Yeah, along with goats.
Hey!
Yeah, good job, everybody. You all get a sticker. The sheep is a descendant of the mouflon.
I'm sorry, that's not a real word.
It was going to be my second guess.
Yes, the wild mouflon. They live in Central Asia, from Turkey to Pakistan. They inhabit mountainous deserts and grasslands, and about 12,000 years ago, we domesticated them, making them the oldest domesticated animal. And it kind of makes sense when you look at a sheep because they're so useful. You get, along with sheep meats, you get milk, and you get wool if you want to make clothing, like an itchy sweater, right? So perfect for ancient humans.
Much like the mammoths did. They made sweaters.
Yeah, mammoth wool sweaters.
Right. But they weren't warm enough.
No. Well, I mean, there was a lot of wool to deal with.
Yeah, but a lot of ice, too, in
right.
that time.
True.
Right? Can you imagine like ancient cave people getting like a woolly mammoth sweater from their cave grandma
For Christmas?
and they have to
For
act
ancient
Yeah.
Christmas.
all happy
prehistoric
about it?
Christmas.
Yeah. And it's got like a cave painting pattern on the front.
Because they don't have writing. So
So it's all a picture of your uncle.
Yeah, the card you
Og.
get only has like pictograms of like, arrow, and then it draws like Og, and then it's like...
Did you hear me say Uncle Og, or did we both independently decide the one name was Og?
The only name back then was Og.
Okay.
everybody was named
It was
Og.
very
Great.
confusing.
It's like Sarah in the 1990s. Everybody was named Sarah.
Okay, so mouflon, they resemble bighorn sheep. Males and females, they live in groups separately. They come together during mating season. The rams fight for the right to mate with a harem of ewes, and so they fight each other, and then after they butt heads, literally, the dominant one will sometimes kind of basically make all the other ones submit to it by being like, lick my neck. Yeah, it'll like come over, be like, Neil, and it'll be like, come over here and you lick my neck. 'Cause I'm in charge of you.
Neil, come over here, Neil. Neil,
Neil.
Neil,
Neil
come
the
over
mouflon.
here and lick my neck.
Wow. Is it like a ceremony? It's ceremonious?
Yeah, it's like, just a social behavior that they exhibit of, I'm in charge here, lick my neck, which at your next work meeting to establish dominance, I highly recommend.
But Sarah, I don't want to lick your neck. I don't want to do
That's
it.
why you have to do it, because Sarah's in charge.
Is it the same place on the neck or different spots? Because I can imagine that would get kind of irritated. I have a lot of follow-up questions. I can hold on to them.
Save it for future episodes. So, mouflon, though, there's not a ton out there. They're near threatened, so there's about 26,000. I don't think we have to worry about them becoming, like, globally dominant anytime soon. So, domesticated descendants. What if, say, they outnumber us because the human population suddenly declined to fewer than 1.2 billion?
Whoa,
Right?
that would be a big deal.
Yeah. If like 7 of every 8 of us just suddenly were no more. I'm going to say in that scenario, the sheep being more populous than humans is secondary, and not really worry about that, because whatever's wiping us out, unless it's the sheep somehow.
It's really the sheep that would have to worry. Who's going to shear them,
Yeah.
Because we've bred them so that they grow a lot of wool. I just read this on Instagram the other day, that if you don't shear them, they like can't survive because we bred them so long.
Yeah, and the wool just keeps growing and growing and growing. Yeah, and they can get more diseases, and it can get all matted, and
They can't eat.
it's not hygienic. Have you ever seen
see.
pictures of escaped sheep that have gone like years without being sheared, and then they like catch them?
With
And
no shirt on.
I'm amazed you survived this
Yeah.
long.
It's been years.
We have created a world of monsters.
yeah,
Yes.
for our benefit.
Yes.
So it's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's look at it the other way, right? Say there's a sheep population boom, and there's like over 8 billion of them. All the cows have been abducted by aliens, and then the sheep, we just breed them instead because all the cows are gone.
Oh, so we've replaced the cows with the
Yes.
sheep in the scenario.
Yes, that's to be logical here, which I think is very important to do
On
with
this
these absurd
podcast.
questions.
Yeah.
The cows have been abducted by extraterrestrials, and now we only have sheep to rely on.
Did you come up with this because there's no way in which cows and that many sheep could coexist?
I actually came up with this because the reason sheep population has actually been declining domestically, like on farms, is because cows are more economically sound for
Really?
a farmer. Like there's a bigger profit margin and incentive.
And just because of the beef, the
Yes.
dairy,
Yes.
the market is larger. Not a lot of
Exactly.
people eat sheep in comparison to cow.
So I
mean,
had-
Sophie eats none of
Yeah.
these things.
So I had-
Congratulations.
What's it like to be better?
I said nothing.
Like if there's a lot of livestock, right?
Yeah,
and we're
where's all
talking
the-
about how
where's
it
all the
affects the
poop?
globe.
Poop.
The poop.
Definitely poop.
I was going with global warming, but
Oh,
sure.
Oh, no,
Poop
yeah.
is, I mean, it's all downstream, you know?
It's related. It's related.
Yeah.
But so I was thinking climate change. How does this affect? Because a big concern actually with cows is the amount of CO2 equivalent gases that they produce, right? Because cows and sheep are both ruminant animals. They have those multi-chambered stomachs that slowly break down all the grass that they're eating, and that emits a lot of methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas.
More potent than CO2.
Right. Although not as long lived in the atmosphere, right?
Correct.
So there's trade-off. From what I could find, sheep emit about 40 kilograms of CO2 equivalent for every kilogram of food product. Cows emit 71 kilograms of CO2 equivalent per kilogram of food product. So hooray, sheep emit less greenhouse gas than beef. So if they replace beef, that's good. Now, but we're talking about not just replacing cows. We're talking about outnumbering humans.
Yeah, that's
Right.
a lot.
So what does that mean, right? Do we actually get more CO2 equivalent net? I did some very bad math on a napkin.
Oh, we did the math.
It will be one day if we get
You
our
want to
act
try again?
together.
You want to try again?
Yeah.
Ready?
We did the math.
All right.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yay.
that's really good.
So, I don't know if like sheep CO2 equivalent scales, I am not sure about the numbers that I found because I had to do a lot of like daisy chaining different like units together to get what I wanted to. But this is what I got. Let's say we remove those 1.5 billion cows that are on Earth. By the way, there's 1.5 billion cows on Earth. And then we add enough sheep to make up for that source of protein going away. And you would have to add 8.5 billion sheep.
Oh, because of their size?
Yes, because sheep are smaller.
That
and they
much
don't
smaller?
produce as much?
Right. Right. So you'd need actually more sheep than humans to like replace all that food source.
By a factor of about 1 to 8?
That's my shoddy math.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's just
Did
say
you just use like their raw mass?
No, I did like research on like if you are a farmer and you're taking a sheep that weighs this much to the slaughterhouse, sorry.
What do you get back?
What do you get back, right? Like the proportional meat product that you get from each living sheep versus that of a cow.
On average. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. then.
Yeah.
That's a lot more sheep.
Yes.
A lot more sheep bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I even round
more
up to
wool.
make it easier. I said, let's say we have 10 billion sheep. Like
That
a
is
lot of sheep. And with my math, I calculated that you would still actually have less than half as much greenhouse gas emissions in this scenario.
Really?
That's what my math said. So,
I mean, your math is the math.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did this math. I was tired and I was using internet figures and just my phone calculator. But I figure this scenario will never actually happen in real life. So even if I am technically wrong, we'll never know.
That's true. We'll never know.
So don't at me.
We don't
anybody.
even really have an audience for this podcast yet, so no one's going to fact check.
Literally talking into the void here. Nobody's going to care.
What I wish and hope for you and manifest for you is that this becomes so successful that you will get added a lot for this exact topic. And people will be doing their own math. They'll be sending in calculations. They'll be comparing. There will be a subreddit that's
Yeah.
all about all the different
Here's-
calculations that
here's
could be
the thing,
possible.
though.
Oh, I'd love
Here's
that.
my
Right?
ace
It's a
in the
problem.
hole is when you're doing this math, though, you get really tired because you're counting sheep. Yeah, and then you run
This
out
was
of
a
steam.
long setup for that.
It was a long walk,
Wow.
wasn't it? It was a woolly dog
Well
or a
done.
big
Well
sheep. Thank you,
done.
thank you. Okay, now that all said, lamb, mutton, it's the second most greenhouse gas intensive protein source after cattle because they're both ruminant animals. Still, not great than like not meat or even like chickens or something if you care about greenhouse gas emissions. There are other environmental impacts, right, from having a lot of sheep. There's, you got to manage the manure and whatnot. And then I found an interesting thing that has to do specifically with sheep that you have to do with them called sheep dipping.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Like an ice cream cone that you dip in chocolate and it comes out deliciouser.
That is exactly what I pictured.
What?
Yes.
That was a high five.
That was a nice moment.
It was nice. Also, really great, like visual in your head.
Yeah.
It just seems so, I don't know.
It's like a little vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, but it's so fluffy.
See,
There's like cute little sheep heads
my
sticking off the
mind-
side like bleh.
My mind went to Achilles being dipped in the river Styx to protect him from harm by his ankle. That's what I
Sheep
got.
have ankles?
What? You'd think they'd have like 4 of them. But anyway. So this is in order to protect sheep from parasites, things like scab mites, lice, keds, right? Because they have that wool, they're susceptible to these things that burrow under it, burrow into their skin, and then make the sheep sick, and the wool falls out. So you have to quote unquote dip them. And for a long time, from 1840 to 1980, do you know what they used for that chemical dip?
Oh no. Oh no.
Arsenic.
Of course.
Yeah. Because it kills a lot of stuff, right? So you're like, this is great.
It was either that or cocaine.
Let's just put a ton of arsenic in like one place and then like hope that just doesn't leach into the groundwater or what have you.
Yeah.
So
or
there are...
your skin when you wear the clothing that has been dipped in arsenic, or the meat that you eat when... Yeah, okay.
They should have stuck with opium. It's just such a... Like, the 19th century loved it so much.
So, yeah, if we're like pre-1980s and like sheep are becoming very populous, you probably have a serious problem with a lot of patches of land having arsenic contamination.
Whoa.
Yeah, that they still have issues with in New Zealand. Like, when you buy a farm that has like an old sheep dipping pit, they're like, don't have anything graze near the pit.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
I know. That's the whole point of this podcast.
Hey.
But ultimately, in the end, I thought about it and I was like, okay, we can think of New Zealand as like a microcosm of Earth, maybe even like a Middle Earth kind of place, right? Where it's got like all these different environments that, you can trek across.
Sure.
And it's
now
beautiful.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, Orcish. Hold on. I want to see what Trace pulls out of his fife bag.
I could have kept going, but it seems weird.
Can that also be a segment? There's always a Middle Earth segment.
Tolkien time.
Tolkien time.
You need a tattoo of a fife and it says like Fife Life.
Well, now I know what I'm doing
There
if
we
this
go.
podcast gets 100,000 subscribers.
Okay, it's true that currently New Zealand does have more sheep than people. 5.8 sheep to every one person.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Right. In 1980, at its peak, it was 22 sheep to a single person in New Zealand. Not like the sheep took over or anything.
Right, yeah.
Sheep didn't, rise up and take over New Zealand. So I think it's safe to say, basically, the consequences of there being more sheep than people would be there are more sheep than people. So that, Sophie, that is my conclusion to if there were more sheep than people. Thank you. Thank you
It
very
would be
much.
a fuzzier world.
With possibly pits of arsenic that you should avoid.
Thanks, Julian.
My pleasure. Thank you. But every future documentary, I'm talking millions of years in the future, that looks back on that time period would have to call that era in history when sheep ruled the earth.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Definitely.
As they do with dinosaurs.
Wow.
Like dinosaurs had like a government
There would be a
and a bureaucracy.
it would be like a Jurassic Park, but for sheep.
Yeah. Brr, brr, brr. Fife that right now.
I can do that
Yes.
one.
That was pretty close, Trace.
Never done that before. That was weird.
I hear this is John Williams' process as well.
Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
We think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then, and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like, I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out.
I'm going to go next.
Yeah.
And I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why did you pick my question?
Okay. I think I should first state that question.
Yes.
And that question I had for you, Trace, this week was, imagine a world
where
superpowers are an everyday occurrence. Which one would be the worst one to have?
Wow.
You look at all the different superheroes with their flying and their speed and the invisibleness, and I'm like, day to day, if this were first of all, if everybody had a superpower, then it would be boring.
Yeah.
Right? Like the same way if we were all wizards, like magic would be a boring thing.
Yeah.
You know? I love that idea of like, if people could fly, we would consider it exercise and we wouldn't do it. Right?
Right.
It would just be like a hassle. Like, I gotta fly over there now. And like levitate over there. My imagining was, if all these things were possible, I want to know which one would just be the biggest pain. To be like, man, I can't believe I was born with X-ray vision. This, like, anytime I want to have some privacy, you know, and not see my parents in the next room, you know, making siblings, like, I can't. I cover my eyes and I see through my own hand, and then I just see like, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that would suck.
So I assigned it to you to kind of elaborate what you think would be scientifically the worst superpower.
I mean, it's a great question. I want to know, so start thinking now. I'm going to ask you in a second what superpower you would pick for yourself. The thing about worst is it's a tough metric to hit because it would be dependent upon the person and about their situation. So, like, one of the things I thought is the worst would be the one who they have wings, but somebody else can just, like, fly like Superman. And it's like, I have to flap if I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Or, you know, maybe you have a superpower that's like a cuttlefish where you can, like, change your skin color, but it's not like we're all of a sudden all nudists, so it's under your clothes most of the time, right? So, like, there are superpowers that would be the worst that would essentially be like, I'm a normal human that doesn't do anything cool or have to work way harder than all these other people.
Okay, I like
So,
that.
generally speaking, those would be the worst. And I sort of went down a rabbit hole in a different direction, which is to say, if we had CRISPR, what could we actually give ourselves in general as superpowers? So the official definition of a superpower is an extraordinary ability or power that are beyond what is considered normal for a human being. So what superpower would you pick, Sophie?
Oh, I have to answer it already? I thought I was going to have about 15 minutes to think of something.
Just minutes.
Oh, good grief. What would your favorite superpower be? Or like what would you choose for your superpower choice?
You're still just stalling here. Actually, I have thought about this, and my superpower would be the ability to understand all languages.
Ooh.
And that includes not just spoken ones, but like the language of the mind, body language, language of computers. You know, there I think have been examples of this in pop culture. I think Heroes had somebody that could do this, a little kid who was cool. But like, I think that one is a superpower that could be very useful. You can't like travel real fast or save the planet necessarily unless you work in the government, perhaps. But it could be really, I think, useful.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to go with something really normal, like boring, like invisibility. I know everybody's going to think I'm a perv, but it would be fun. And then,
We'll
or
just
like,
give you a little like bracelet that flashes red. So that when you're invisible, everyone knows where you are.
like how you have to put a bell on your cat.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
a bell. Just put a bell.
Oh, a little bell on.
You're invisible visually, not auditorily. So, like, yeah, just you have to wear a bell when
Right.
you're invisible. Yeah.
You could use your powers for good or evil. You get to decide.
It would be evil.
Oh, okay. Great.
Thanks.
Wow.
You decided that part really fast.
That
Yeah.
was really fast.
Yeah. Sounds more fun.
I have one now.
Yeah.
I would want my superpower to be the ability to create empathy between people who if they could only just let down their defenses and really think about the other person, they would realize they're on the same team. We're on the same page, and we just need to chill out and like see each other's perspective and be like, oh yeah, you're right too. I see where you're coming from. Let's figure it out together and problem solve so that we could really tackle these like major change. Because I was thinking I'd want to be able to create change. Solve world hunger and solve climate change.
So your superhero, you'd be feelings girl.
Yeah.
Feelings woman.
Feelings
Empathy.
woman.
Yeah. Captain Empathy.
Captain Empathy sounds.
The empath.
Right. I want to be Deanna Troy, but
For other people.
for other people. Yeah, being like I'm imagining the two of you in a room and there's a little lightning bolt connecting your brains, and then suddenly you're like, oh, we're friends.
And then
you were already friends.
Yeah.
Your arch nemesis would be like psychopath man who's incapable of feeling
Yeah.
empathy.
Yeah.
But can my enemy live up to my powers? Right? Because
Yeah,
wouldn't we become friends?
Irresistible force meets immovable object, right?
I don't know. That's fascinating.
That's a test.
Your
That's the test.
superpower is world peace. Is that what you're saying?
but getting us all in on it together.
That's nice.
Yeah. I know that might sound
Boring.
hokey, but
That's really boring.
boring. It's a little bit of maybe like it would feel like a real burden sometimes, but I think it would be worth it.
Guys, a 2018 survey of Americans on superpowers
Yes, continue.
had several answers that I think you will be surprised by this. None of the ones you picked. No, that's not true, actually.
No,
Invisibility.
empathy wasn't the first.
Empathy was not number one. The top 10 are the ability to heal others. That was
Kind of related.
I think that's
the
similar.
But
ability to
physical.
heal yourself.
Yeah.
Therapy.
The ability to become invisible, number 3.
Oh.
Ability to fly, which I'm surprised did not come up in this conversation.
Well, I'd love to do it. Don't get me wrong. It's just I feel like it's lower on the list.
I think if I'm invisible, I could sneak up on somebody who's about to fly and just jump on their back, and then they would think they're really heavy, but I could get a free ride somewhere.
They can fly, but they have no feeling.
Yeah.
Like,
Or I could sneak onto airplanes, and there's
true.
absolutely
You
no
could do
implications about security for that.
no, or like weight.
Flying somehow feels like a little easier than the others we talked about, and I just felt like I should shoot for the moon as far as if I were.
Actually, the more I think about it, the more I think you nailed a lot of these. Because then number 5, the ability to read people's minds, which you would need to do in order to empathize.
Right.
The ability to teleport, the ability to manipulate time, superhuman strength, the ability to move objects with your mind, superhuman speed, X-ray vision, and then 10% said, "Don't know, no opinion." Yeah, that was the shocking.
10%. Yeah,
10%
right.
of people were like, "I don't know."
In the age of the Marvel Cinematic Universe stage 27 or whatever we're on at this point, really 10% of people have given no thought to what superpower they'd want.
And they did the same survey in Italy and found similar results. Self-healing, teleportation, invisibility, and time manipulation all did really well.
That would be really interesting to see the world over. Are the answers consistent in
Yeah.
every culture?
Yeah, and so I tried to do that, and unfortunately those surveys haven't been done in a lot of places. These were the only 2 that I found.
We gotta
My
do them.
very short research on this, but I did think it was interesting that even in 2 somewhat separate cultures of Italy and the U.S., they had very similar ideas of self-healing, teleportation, invisibility, and time manipulation.
Yeah. I want to get Marvel to sponsor a grant where we do this research.
Let's do it.
And then they would know how to effectively target certain heroes for markets.
Right. Maybe it's a conflict of interest, but I think we could make this pass an IRB. I think we could get it funded. Let's work
All
on
right.
it. Put a pin in it. Let's think about it.
Okay, but while we put a pin in it, can we sidebar for a second? Just like sidebar?
Sidebar, so pin
Yeah.
and then go to a sidebar
Yeah,
on pin.
sidebar over here.
Yeah.
Superpowers are dumb.
She was drinking
Grace.
tea in the middle of that.
That was
almost-
so close to ruining your microphone.
Well, it was free. The reason superpowers are dumb, and this is a theory that I've had for a long time, is that you need 2. There's no such thing as somebody is like, I was born with a superpower. You need to have multiple superpowers and make any superpower work. I pose the following examples. Flying, great, super cool. You're flying in the air, but you'd also need to be able to process life at lower oxygen levels, not get hearing damage from rushing air, worrying about goggles, bird strikes. You'd also look kind of ridiculous because you'd have to wear like armor, essentially, if you weren't invulnerable. So you'd probably need some level of invulnerability. A fairly minor crash at like 5 miles an hour would likely kill you. You need multiple superpowers in order to survive having one of them.
Yeah, I actually was listening to an interview with a U-2 pilot the other day, the spy plane that can fly at like 70,000 feet.
Not the band?
Not the band, no, not with Bono or The Edge, or
They have
whoever
I bet they have a pilot.
else is in
Yeah,
the band
maybe they
besides
have.
the 2 members that everybody knows. No, like a former Air Force pilot who flew U-2s, and she
Wait,
was saying...
U2, the band, has more than 2 members?
And they don't have their own pilot?
That's not like, how many members are there? Because then it should be U4 if there are like 4 members.
Hold on.
Maybe it's like you two, me too, us, a couple more.
We're going to have to do a corollary to this sidebar of this
variable.
pin.
U is a variable, and there are varying members of the band depending on what they need, but there's
Yeah.
always Bono and The Edge. And then they're the 2, but the U is the variable.
That's what it is. There's like plenty of people in the band, but Bono and who's I don't
And
The
The
Edge.
The Edge.
Then-
You two and the Edge are always the ones that are late, so they're like, you two, come on, and that's how they got the name.
They're like, U2, we need you up here.
We're late. Get on stage.
Very inclusive.
Then there's also Larry Mullen Jr., Adam on the drums, Adam Clayton on bass, Dick Evans also listed on guitar, and then Ivan McCormick not listed as anything. So
But just
uncredited.
There.
I assume he's the guy who put their album on my iTunes without me asking. I think that was his job.
Probably that. Okay, so you two flying.
Right. Yeah. So they fly at such high altitudes, right? So they can be out of range of missiles and more safe, right? But they're so high up that they have to wear a pressure suit, like they look like astronauts in there. And they, before the flight, they actually have to like spend hours like getting the nitrogen out of their blood, so just like breathing pure oxygen, so they don't get the bends and decompression sickness, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they still have serious issues after their time, because they'll fly like 12-hour-long missions at these altitudes. They have like done studies of their brains, and they have like, these are people in their 30s and 40s, and they have brain lesions that you would expect to see for somebody in their 60s and older.
Wow.
And they have a lot of issues with like kind of being in a fog, you know, like they have accidents sometimes where they'll like crash or nearly crash or just like forget what they're doing. And it's because they've spent so long like at these high altitudes where there's just no air. So yeah, I could that makes total sense.
So that's my point. Basically, and this sort of answers your question, but I'm going to keep talking after this. All superpowers are the worst because none of them give you anything that you actually need without other superpowers. So like think of it like a superpower is you can play hockey, but you don't have ice skates, you don't have pads, you don't have helmet, you don't have a goal, you don't have ice. So you need all those other things in order to be able to actually do the sport.
But don't you think that a superpower comes as sort of a package? Like, if you're going to have that superpower, it's in the fine print that you're going to be able to wield it without...
Yeah, maybe. I mean, is there a lot of that in nature?
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
right?
is. Right, because all of the functions that we have, all of the abilities that we have are supported by 100 other features that let us do that thing.
Yeah.
And if you are, say, an animal that has a mutation at birth that gives you some new ability, you know, but nothing else supports it, then you die and you don't have offspring. It's just natural selection.
That's
right?
true. But we're not talking about a long-term, we all got the same thing. We're talking about, like, I'm born with this one. Oh, crap, this one doesn't get me anything.
Oh,
like,
no.
So most superpowers would be bad. It'd be like, if I can fly, but I'm also just a regular person who's very breakable, I can only really fly at certain temperatures, certain altitudes, probably mostly hovering. Like, not really
Very
that
low speed.
useful.
Yeah.
Because if you want to fly up high in the mountain, it's 0 degrees. Like,
So what I'm also hearing, because Superman's knock is like, oh, he just does everything that's so boring, right? We all have to be Superman. then.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to be generalists.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't, no like specific, like, oh, you get one thing kind
We
of
love
superheroes.
to talk about every superhero by their like main power.
Yeah.
You know, Wolverine has this main power of this healing power. It's incredible. It does all this stuff. But he also must have some other powers that support it. Metabolism that either is super efficient unless he's literally constantly eating. If he regrows a bunch of stuff, if he's constantly fighting the adamantium that's on his bones, like he has a superpower that he doesn't need red blood cells somehow. Like it's the biology would have to adapt in a way that you need another superpower. This isn't to say we shouldn't think about it. It's to say the more you think about it, the more it's magic. And that's fine. I just think it's really fun to think about it this way, where it's like, wow, all the superpowers we don't think about that all of these supers have. Name some ways that people have gotten superpowers other than being born with them.
Bitten by something.
Great. Yes. Bitten by a radioactive or genetically engineered spider. Super interesting. Actually, my favorite one, we're going to come back to that. Name another one.
Gamma radiation.
Yeah, radiation. That's a big deal. Can mess with your DNA. Super cool. Does it at random. Not the best. Vats of chemicals.
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens where you fall in. Also can mess with your DNA.
Gotta fall into the vat.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
Being exposed to the rays of a yellow sun.
I mean, I guess you could say
guess-
he got his superpowers being born that way, and then the ray is activated.
Yeah.
Give
Right.
him- yeah.
Yeah.
But he wasn't just born in Connecticut.
No.
Kansas.
Right.
I mean, he was
Which is
born in-
also true. He was born in neither of those places. Look, you're not wrong.
I know.
I want to stress that. That was not an incorrect statement.
Just making a point.
Yeah. He was not born in Alaska. He was not born in Madrid.
Nope.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
He would be a super hombre in...
There is an excellent comic book of what if his little pod had left 12 hours later or earlier and he landed in Russia or the Soviet Union and he became the people's hero.
Strong man.
Yeah.
Then he would be, Stalin means man of steel in Russia. So he would just be Stalin.
He would just be Stalin,
oh my
man.
God, Stalin is alternate universe.
Has anyone seen him with his glasses off?
I have one more to add to the
Yeah.
list. A virus.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Sophie, for bringing it back to that.
So good.
So that is also why I like the spider one, because that is the way we could give ourselves superpowers now if we wanted to, using CRISPR-Cas9. So you can edit DNA now using this system. Again, not perfect. It does make mistakes. But let's assume in a perfect world where people do have superpowers, we gave them by editing embryos. Ethics aside, because once you edit an embryo, it passes that on to everyone else, which is sort of what I was talking about earlier, where if you have your parents and they have crappy superpowers, you're going to have crappy superpowers because that's where you got them, unfortunately. So to do that, we need an animal in nature that currently has a power that we want. You can't just shoot beams from your eyeballs into, from other dimensions because no natural thing has that. We'd have to find a genetic way in order to make us not only pull from another dimension, but be able to then shoot things without hurting ourselves out of our own bodies. So, some ideas that I had while researching this is chimps. Chimps have a stronger muscle system than we do. So if you wanted super strength, you could theoretically take DNA from a chimp, and I was going to say a shrimp. That would be so not shrimp, chimp. So chimpanzees are pound for pound stronger than humans by about 1.35 times. Any ideas as to why?
Evolutionarily?
Just, what physically is letting them be stronger? Because they share their DNA with us, right? 98%, at least 99%.
They're big arms.
Why
They're big
are their
muscles.
muscles better?
So
why?
literally just the muscle pound. It's not like a arm construction
levers.
gives them more
No.
leverage. Okay.
Their legs can generate a force of a human who is 2 times heavier than them.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
pound for pound.
Do their muscles just have way more potential to move, stretch and pull?
Yes. They're muscles, so there are 2 different types of fibers in our muscles. There's slow twitch and fast twitch. Slow twitch are long endurance muscles. Fast twitch are quick, literally faster muscles. And that a human is about 70% slow, 30% fast. A really athletic human might be more 50-50 or even swap that 80% fast.
Whoa.
Yeah, but a chimp on average is about 70% fast twitch muscles. So they are very strong, but they can't do it for very long. So we could if we could identify the genes in a chimp that make it so that they have more fast twitch muscles, we could take that and it would be a superpower. And we have actually done that.
Oh no. Chimp Man is out there on the loose right now.
Well, so there
Or
is a
chimp
mutation.
woman, I'm assuming a lot.
Yeah. There's a mutation in a gene, ACTN3, which makes the protein that controls fast twitch muscles. And we naturally...
ACTN. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
but ACTN3
I
is a
love
cute
nerds.
name.
Yeah, it's cute. Little action.
Action.
We got an action protein. Action. Julian's just shaking.
Just scientists and their acronyms
I know.
are so funny.
Yeah. So if you have a gene in your body right now, all of us do, many, but if you have 2 active ACTN3 genes, then you're probably were born somewhat stronger or faster or just are better. You go to the gym and you're like, oh, how do they get their results so fast? And it's like they might have a better fast twitch muscle development. 18% of us, though, have the opposite. That's 2 defective ACTN3 genes. So, yeah. Wah, wah. Superman, X-ray vision. Eyes don't emit X-rays, so you'd have to be able to absorb them, which means they'd have to be out in the environment, which would be bad for all of us. So that's not actually, I think, a valid superpower for a regular person.
Yeah.
Even if you could see them without being damaged by their high energy, there wouldn't be any. Because if there were, then X-ray machines wouldn't work, right? Because
Right.
we need to shield that whole room from X-rays in order to isolate and capture just what we want. And in fact, the atmosphere blocks most X-rays in about a few meters within the atmosphere. You lose them all. So, and instead, how about we just see infrared? It's close. You can see maybe bodies through walls. You can see, all sorts of things. And we can do that now. actually.
Oh.
So the human eye has rods and cones. They can see a couple different things. But if you inject a particle into the eye, you have to genetically engineer yourself. That particle absorbs infrared and then emits into the visible spectrum that we can see now.
Really?
So you could potentially do that. They've done it with mice.
Awesome.
It's converting the infrared into a visible light wavelength.
Yeah. It kind of bends it back into red.
Yeah.
So you end up seeing what would be there. And they tested it with mice, and they found that they could, with just an infrared light, they could see it. They could tell that it was there with this stuff. I don't know what it does to your eyeball, though. I don't know if I would do that. But.
I wonder if you could do the same with ultraviolet, because something that's phosphorescent, like, a highlighter or whatever, and then you shine a black light on it and it glows all bright, is doing the same thing. It's absorbing ultraviolet and then just re-emitting in, for us, the visible spectrum.
Yeah.
But I would see why they would do infrared rather than ultraviolet, because the lower wavelength would be just a little more
maybe easier.
And there are animals though that can see ultraviolet, like bees, right? It's funny, I was just looking in my wife's studying biology right now, and I was flipping through her textbook because that's what I do in my free time. Nice. And nerd. We love you. Thanks. And they had pictures of flowers that to us just look like a boring yellow. But with ultraviolet vision, bees can actually see that the petals are different colors on the edges versus the middle where the nectar is. So the color of the flower guides bees to where the nectar is. So it would be cool if you could see ultraviolet.
I mean, the mantis shrimp is one that I looked up, but it's not any specific gene, but they can see, I think they have 12 rods and cones, so they can see all sorts of colors. But I was like, that's not a superpower. Unfortunately, even though it's often portrayed as such in science communication, they're not particularly good at discerning color. So even though they can see a wide variety of colors, way more than we can, they don't actually, because there are so many, maybe it just becomes muddy, they can't tell the difference between them as easily.
Maybe you need the what lobe in your brain is responsible for processing vision would also have to be beefed up.
Yeah,
maybe.
occipital lobe.
Maybe. You couldn't just upgrade the eyeballs. You'd have to upgrade all the wetware.
parts.
Getting back to your thing of you've got to have supporting superpowers on your superpowers.
So the number one superpower was healing yourself or others. And for that, I thought from nature, we should go to one of my favorites, and I think everyone's on the internet, the axolotl. So cute. Such a cute little salamander. And it regenerates limbs, spine, even parts of its brain with no scarring. It just regenerates it. It's not perfect. There are some pattern issues based on studies they've done.
I didn't know this about the axolotl, and I consider myself to be one of the foremost axolotl experts.
Do you have
an axolotl expert?
Axolotl spurt.
An axel spurt.
You do?
Well, I actually, so again, my wife biology, and she's obsessed with everything.
And
so we're always researching what next animal is going to be part of our family. And she for a while was like, axolotl. And so I did learn they're yes, a salamander, but they just permanently stay in an adolescent stage.
Aww.
They don't ever turn into the full amphibious salamander like other salamanders do. And they also are only found in caves in Mexico. And those are the things I know about an axolotl, which I think, relatively speaking, is a lot. But I didn't know about this healing ability.
Yeah, they're super healers. They can regenerate whole limbs, and it's really incredible stuff. I don't actually know how they do it, but
if I can make a theory that's unsupported by anything,
I'd love that. Please elaborate.
Knowing that they are the adolescent stage of a salamander and they never grow out of it, maybe it's possible that they have those regenerative abilities because they're still in that youthful pre-transition.
There's a lot of plasticity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
So if we were axolotl people, we would actually be stuck as babies all the time.
That might be a side effect. Yes. Whoa.
But babies who can do stuff.
Yeah, babies with jobs.
Yeah.
Boss babies.
I think that's us now.
This episode is brought to you
just
by
being a millennial.
DreamWorks Pictures. So in your bloodstream right now is a protein called MG53. It helps you heal. It heals your organs, it heals your tissues, but it works with another protein called TGF-beta. The two of them work together to make sure that you heal, and the MG53 is to reduce scarring, whereas TGF-beta is that dude at work that's always frantic and crazy, and it's just I gotta get everything done! And so TGF-beta is heal! God, heal so fast! And MG53 is it's okay. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna get there. It's gonna be fine. So, if you were to mutate yourself, where you would have more of both, but slightly more MG53, you might be able to heal in a lot of different ways and also not have scarring, which would be important because that would be the thing about regenerating. Just because you can regenerate doesn't mean you regenerate perfectly. Even the axolotl, they've learned, they thought it was perfect regeneration, but the more they look, certain parts of their DNA doesn't regenerate as well. So they end up with like some transcription errors and things that happen.
What is the worst superpower? Or is this rhetorical, or do you want us to take a stab?
No. You can, yes, please tell me what you think is the worst superpower.
Empathy. Sounds exhausting. It would be so hard.
All right. No, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
See?
I see. I'm exhausted just by you having empathy. I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
No.
That's what I'm here to change.
No,
Julian.
stop it.
I can't.
You can't make me feel. This is the origin story of psychopathy man right here for me, as I'm turning into the Joker
of each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it started here on this podcast.
You know,
We just met today,
Yeah.
and this is the beginning of the next MCU endeavor.
They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel
really are.
after.
What is this, phase 7?
27?
At some point, it's going to be like Land Before Time, okay? You're just going to have so many of them. Okay, so in a survey by Trans Impact, they found that the most popular superpowers were also healing, self, others, or teleportation. But in that same survey, and I don't think Julian's going to be surprised on this because of what he said earlier, 3 in 5 Americans would use the power for their own benefit over the benefit of society, family, or friends.
That does not speak well for humanity as a whole.
Anybody else, even the
57%.
people they love?
No. And in fact, they would keep it a secret when asked. More people would keep it a secret than not. And if they were asked specifically, flat out, okay, would you use it for good or evil? What did Julian say?
Yeah, it was evil.
Yeah, 0.4% said they would use it for evil. 0.4. 80% would use it for good,
Okay, this is
Boring.
promising.
but 20% would
my
use it for
God.
both.
Good and evil?
Good and evil.
What?
So it was just like, ugh, I'm just like not feeling it right now. I'm going to do some evil because I have a superpower.
Oh my gosh, they'd like curse people with
don't
it?
know, I
You're
guess.
like, you can't heal.
Oh,
I like
or
your
like you
wounds
would
to
make
stay
people feel
open.
empathy with someone. That,
Oh, anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Or like, I could heal you, but you like made me feel bad at the last meeting in front of our manager. And so
Somebody-
I'm just going to let
yeah.
you.
Because at the end of the day, we're still human.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
we're
our
still,
biggest problem.
We're still capricious. We're still...
Great word.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. 3 out of 4 people said that they felt the world would not be a better place if people had superpowers. And then I just want to throw this out there. If you were going to use your superpower with malicious intent that only benefited yourself and break it down by age, who's the most likely to say yes? Younger people or older people?
Old people.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the youngs.
No.
Yeah.
No, Gen Z.
93%
Say it ain't so.
said that they would, it's...
I had so much hope for you.
Yeah.
Boomers were only 7% yes, 93% no way.
No, we know that's not true.
Gen Z was
That can't be true.
47% yes, 53% no. So almost split of just like, you know what? Maybe I'll cheat on this test.
These results are really challenging my worldview and opinions on humanity and like the difference of generations.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question, Julian,
Yeah.
what would be the worst superpower is any.
Any and all.
Yeah.
I could see that. It would just make the world a worse place, apparently.
3 out of 4 people felt the same.
Okay, well, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend that I floss. Does that mean that I have to do it?
I love that.
Only if you want to keep your teeth. I mean, I guess not.
Okay, so it wasn't
You don't
the
have
strongest.
to do anything.
It wasn't the strongest example, but
know.
you see what I mean. Just because 3 out of 4 people say it ain't so, does that mean it ain't so? No, it's up to that 4th person. You know,
Save the
You're saying the
world.
best superhero is like Quail Man? He's just like Doug with a belt on his head. He's still Doug. He's just like trying to make people feel better about themselves with underwear on the outside of his pants.
I have to believe that there are more people who want to make the world better than there are people who want to make the world worse. Because otherwise, why are we here? You know?
All statistics to the opposite here.
Maybe it's vital that we don't have superpowers, so we are forced by social contract and obligations to act for the collective good, because it is ultimately in our own self-interest.
We're all just down here in the mud.
Yeah.
There's no
Trying to
real
scrape
altruism.
by.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
At least
like,
we're all in the mud
As
together.
soon as one person can ascend above that, they're like, "See ya, mud people," and then they.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Elon Musk is he wants to get out. All the
Yeah.
richies want to get out to space. They don't want to help.
I definitely saw parallels there between like superpowers and social economic status. I mean,
much
Iron
time.
Man's superpower is money, right? Batman's superpower
Smarts.
is money.
They both have, I would say,
Okay,
smarts too, but
Batman's
yes.
then is rawly just money.
And a really good logistical supply chain to get
Yes,
stuff that he
which
needs.
money
from
bought,
anywhere.
or like
Money can buy
physical prowess, which he has time to do, train to be a ninja with Ra's al Ghul because he can just take a vacation, and somebody with 3 jobs can't become a ninja assassin.
And Nolan-esque, he was dead.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a vacation. He was dead. He was declared dead.
It's the ultimate vacation.
Yeah. Vacation from life.
If you're being cynical, which apparently we are.
Yeah, we're quit. This is a very cynical show. all
3
of a
out of
sudden.
4.
I'm just telling you
Yeah.
what the people said. The worst superpower is any superpower, but the best superpowers are, unfortunately, for Julian, empathy and communication and being happy.
Which are all things you can develop just on your own with like practice
Yeah.
and self-reflection and education, which isn't that nice.
That's so empowering.
Yay.
Wow.
Congrats, superhero listeners.
Sophie, who gave you your question?
I believe Julian gave me
It
my
was
question.
me again. I had a lot of questions about humanity this week.
It was a rough week for you.
Yeah, and both of you decided graciously to answer them on my behalf. And so this one actually stemmed from studying with my wife for her biology class. We were going through like phylogenetic trees and where different, species branch off from each other when they, mutate and change and gain these qualities and whatever. And what I was very curious about was, do we have some inkling of what the human species will become next? Like what's in store for us, what major branching path might we take? Is there even a way to know? And so I think that's a pretty big bite to take, and you went for it, so hats off, and I would love to hear what you found.
I love this question. And similar to how I thought of my own question, I went with my first thought was that we will become like naked mole rats.
Okay. I mean, I feel like we're most of the way there.
We would all be Ron Stoppable's little pet.
Right? Okay, so think about it. Naked mole rats, I was like, what are we going to do next? We'll probably end up being like hairless. We'll be probably pretty much, you got a long way to go, but
Just take that sweater off. Oh,
I can't do
we've got to shear him.
don't worry, we're going to have 8 billion sheep to take care of you and
Yeah,
keep you
you'll
warm.
blend right in. Nobody will judge you.
Oh, buddy.
The sheep will think you're their leader.
Yes. Oh,
You will lead the uprising.
so will most of us, except for Trace in, evolution, where Trace will still be around, will be pretty much hairless. We'll be pretty much blind. We'll live underground, probably. Think about these are naked mole rats do these things. And I was like, oh, we probably won't have wisdom teeth. We probably won't have all of these vestigial or just expendable organs, right? Like a gallbladder and stuff. So I was like, basically a naked mole rat. And then my second thought was, okay, so maybe we won't evolve much at all because we will think about evolving and then we'll start scrolling TikTok and get distracted and then it'll be 8:30 and time for bed.
Mm-hmm. But I'm imagining we'll evolve a more efficient claw on our phone hand for scrolling through videos.
Some will get
It will,
beefier
yeah.
because of epigenetic use.
Yeah, it'll naturally extend across the phone screen because I struggle right now. My hand, I have big hands,
our
and they're a
pinky will
little
get
too
beefier,
small.
too.
Yeah.
Right, so it'll be a selective exoskeleton that still has haptic feedback, but right on the thumb.
Yeah.
So that we can be strong. Okay, so these are great. These are all great ideas.
Not
Okay.
where you went, though.
Well, I mean, I went to naked mole rats, and then I went to...
totally.
We won't. So everything's valid. And the beauty of this is that it's a prediction. It's speculative. We won't be around to find out.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we
But
can
this
just...
podcast will.
But this podcast will stand the test of time.
Future anthropologists of whatever species will become will find only this as an artifact and be like, they were idiots back then.
Unlike now.
Unlike now, we're so much smarter. Oh, new TikTok just showed up. I have to move on.
Right.
Welcome
Yeah.
to Rats Absurd. Please elaborate. I'm your host, Naked Mole Rat, Sarah.
And I'm Og.
Also, og.
So obviously these are wrong, but
Oh.
are they wrong? Or are they right?
Sophie really likes to play up the suspense.
I like it.
One idea is a little bit more right than the other. Which one do you think is wrong?
What, naked mole rats or longer thumbs for phone scrolling?
No.
Are those the two options?
No, Julian. Naked mole rats, or we don't evolve because we're scrolling TikTok too much, and then we get tired and it's time for bed.
My suspicion has long been that because we've come to a point where we manipulate the world around us to meet our needs, that we will basically not keep adapting. That is what I've kind of assumed.
Yeah, I've always been on that track as well, but except with a caveat that we will adapt, but those adaptations will be based on essentially systems management. Because I don't see humans being like, unless we go full Luddite and just eschew all technology, the technology will just continue to wrap around all of the pieces of our lives, and we'll just be managing all of that. So maybe our attention will change, maybe how we process information might evolve. But in terms of physicality, I don't know.
Or we are put into a radically different environment that we cannot manipulate with technology. I'm thinking if some humans become a spacefaring like offshoot and are in microgravity constantly, that would have a dramatic effect on our physiology as a species.
And isn't that just The Expanse? We've just written The Expanse. It's just like, there are people that live in the asteroid belt and there are people that live on Mars.
Yeah.
And they're different.
Yeah, a lot of this show is just going to be coming up with ideas people had years ago, I feel like. But anyway.
Isn't that all shows?
Yeah.
And isn't that a lot of science as well? Well, friends, the answer may surprise you.
Surprise me.
Wow.
So these are really good ideas, really great thoughts that you had. First, before we dig into that, I would like to tell you a little bit more about the naked mole rat.
Did you just come on here to evangelize naked mole rats? Are you like a secret naked mole rat super fan and you're like, this is my chance?
Not a secret now.
It's a naked obsession now.
Hey, I just think it's important that we honor the naked mole rat for a moment, and I want to give it its time in the spotlight, which is rare because they are subterranean.
Yes, that's hard for them. Yeah. They don't like light very much.
They don't, and you know what? They wouldn't see much of it anyway, so we could shine a bright light. It'd be, I think, fine. Okay, so the naked mole rat, it's part of the rodent family. However, it is unique. It is very cool and specific within the rodent family. So mice live about 1 to 2 years. Naked mole rats have been known to live up to 30 years.
Whoa!
So they've got this unusually long lifespan. They're subterranean, as we said. They are virtually blind. They're nearly hairless. They get all their water from food. So they just sort of eat the insides of tubers and stuff and get all their water content that way. They have an unusually high tolerance to infections. They have a really high regenerative capacity. So they're I know, right? These are all things we've talked about already today. It's so cool. They also have a real resistance to diseases, cancers, diabetes, things like that. And here's a fun fact. If the others weren't already, mice have gallbladders, but rats do not.
Huh.
Yeah.
What?
Interesting, right?
The gall. Or lack thereof.
Or lack of it. So that's just a little bit about the naked mole rat. And put a pin in it. Just keep it in the back of your brain.
All right. Put a pin in the naked mole rat. Got it.
Gently. So I would like to define evolution. We got to define it so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So evolution, defined by Merriam-Webster as, I'll just read the whole definition, but it is a descent with modification from pre-existing species. So the cumulative inherited change in a population of organisms through time, leading to the appearance of new forms. So the process by which species and populations of living things develop from the pre-existing ones and become different through successive generations, right? Now, there are different types of evolution. There's micro and there's macroevolution. Micro is specific genes changing. So you already talked about this a little bit, Trace, right? Those genetic mutations that happen, the specific genes that change, that's microevolution. And there are multiple mechanisms of that, which we'll talk about in a second. And then there's macroevolution, which is species level or higher.
Right.
So the mechanisms of that evolution, natural selection, we've probably heard about.
Yeah.
Right? And that's when the species adapts to their new environment, and then they survive, and then they reproduce, and they pass those genetic changes on to their next generation over time, over many, many generations. There's also sexual selection. Very cute. And that's when traits of the member of a species make it more attractive to mates. So they're more likely to reproduce. So it's not necessarily an adaptation to an environment. It's just something that makes them more attractive.
Oh, I actually have a fun story about that. Not for me. Not that I've done anything to make myself more appealing to the opposite sex. That's not the case. But I actually was reading about, swordtails. They're a type of fish that have a little long extension from the bottom part of their tail. And scientists were wondering, like, okay, is this like some sort of benefit to the swordfish, or is it not a swordfish? Swordtails.
Swordtail.
Thank you. Is this a benefit for the swordtail, or is this kind of hijacking some inlaid tendency of the females? And so what they did was they went back and they found like a distant relative from swordtails that didn't have that swordtail extension, and they attached little artificial swordtails to the males to see if the females of the species that didn't have the swordtails selected those males more often. And they did.
Ooh.
So this little swordtail was just hijacking some instinct of the female fish to just prefer like an elongated little bottom part of the tail that like wasn't present in other related species, but it was like latent there. And if those species started having the little longer tails, then the females would breed with those males more. I know. And
There
it
you
served
go.
like no advantage. It was just like, oh, wow, that sword looks pretty good, you know? He's backing a big sword.
Backing a big sword.
Yeah.
That's the human equivalent that I think about when I think of this is height. That like we are getting taller as a species generally because like females just prefer taller males. There's a bunch of research that shows this, and there's not really, as far as I can tell, a super advantage to being tall. It's not like we've just evolved because of cupboards. It's just that we have better nutrition overall, and the environment is such that we can just grow a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's not
More resources.
Yeah.
More resources,
But
right.
if you're really tall, then your chance of earning a lot of money in the NBA goes up. So I think that's a fair reason to.
But what if you're like middle class tall, like me, like 6'2"? You're not tall enough to join the NBA, but you're not good at basketball. But you're really uncomfortable on airplanes and any other public transit.
But you're still attractive to mates, so you got that going for you, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good job. But like, shout out to our short kings too.
Yeah. Short kings.
Of course. Absolutely. And of course, this is all just like, this is generalizing.
Yeah.
What?
I know,
It's
because
like your general empathy or something.
no, it's like maybe I am.
Curse you, general empathy.
Yes. And of course, yeah, like ultimately, and that's, if there's anything that we can evangelize, it's that height doesn't matter and that you can just love who you love. And don't worry if they're taller than you or shorter than you. But studies show that there's just this thing where we're just like, oh, tall, cool. And I'm a short person. So, I wish I could benefit from this. But so there's natural selection, sexual selection, mutation. That's like a permanent change in the DNA sequence of a gene, as we were talking about. And then there's genetic drift, where there's like the change in the frequency of that variant. And that's due to random chance. That can just be out of nowhere. And then there's gene flow, where that's the migration of genes because populations are being exposed to each other and they're just moving within a species. All right. So there's our different context of the types of different evolution that we can have. Now a brief history, because I was thinking about this question of how will we evolve next? And then I thought, well, like, what timeline are we talking about? Because there is a lot of talk. A lot of people say we've stopped evolving.
Right.
Like, have we just hit where we're going to go and it's all downhill from here?
We literally said that just at the beginning of this part.
Yeah.
So here's a quick little history. So hominids evolved about 5 to 8 million years ago. And then Homo sapiens, our species of human, emerged a couple 100,000 years ago.
Yeah.
2 to 3, depending on, which.
Where you go.
Yeah, I've
Fossils,
seen.
yeah.
Yeah, that's about what I've seen. Like 600,000 to 200,000 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Big
is
range.
Nothing.
Right. It's
Yeah.
a big range to us, but yeah, in the scheme of things, in the scheme of 8 million years.
Yeah.
Peanuts,
Yeah.
And then we've developed the capacity for language about 50,000 years ago.
New.
So
Brand new.
very new.
Spanking.
And then agriculture around like 10,000 years ago.
Wow. Barely came out. We're early adopters of that.
Exactly. And that is when things just really took off for us. Things really started to speed up. So, in fact, did we stop evolving? Not at all. In fact, there is evidence suggesting that we have started to evolve faster. I know.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
I know.
No. This is the opposite.
Right?
Total opposite of my guess.
I thought you'd like this. Okay, so there are a couple reasons. There's an exponential population boom, of course, right? We have way more people than we had, as we've discussed on the podcast already. So if there are more of us, there are more of our genes, right?
More genes.
And we're in new environments because we are globally traveling in ways that we didn't before. So we're exposed to other populations, other people, new sets of genes than we had.
Gamma ray accidents are more frequent with our
Right?
With all of our frequent U2 flights.
Yes.
And band members.
Oh my gosh.
There's more U2 band members than ever.
Than ever before. And they are going everywhere and they're meeting all the radioactive spiders. And it's all converging.
Yeah.
In fact, we should email the Daniels. So here's some evidence that suggests
Everything Everywhere All at Twice, the sequel.
It's the sequel.
It's the sequel. So
Which actually happened before the original in that universe.
exactly. Now, I want to be clear, these are microevolutions rather than macroevolutions. So
Okay.
we're talking about specific genes that are changing as opposed to the entire species of humanity changing into something else.
We're not going to like have, like another arm or a tail, like a cool tail or...
Well, it depends on, like, what is the line between that making us a new species,
Yeah.
If I have a third
Yeah.
arm, I'm
What
pretty
is the
sure I'm
what
gonna
is the
be-
cutoff for speciation?
The cutoff, that's a great, like, the cutoff is really if they can't reproduce successfully anymore.
Right, like the next generation, like you can breed like a horse and a donkey to get a mule, but a mule is sterile, right? Because like it can't make the gametes that can then like breed. Or like you can make a liger, right? Like a lion and a tiger, but the liger can't breed, right? So a lion and a tiger are still separate species because of that.
I thought speciation was just, some old people in a room being like, they seem different enough.
I'm pretty sure it started that way
write a
when
paper.
science was literally like, based on nothing at all, I think this is how the world works. And then you wrote it down in a book. And then hundreds of years later, we still have to use like your terminology,
You
but
nailed
have
that
to
book.
clarify
Yeah.
like everything. Like, okay, so this is what they thought, but it turns out that was totally stupid. And we've...
So microevolutions rather than macroevolutions. We're not becoming a new species, but we're having a lot of really significant changes happen, and they're happening fast. So according to the anthropologist John Hawks of the University of Wisconsin, I'll just quote directly because it's really cool. People are genetically more different from people living 5,000 years ago than those humans were from the Neanderthals who vanished 30,000 years ago.
Wow.
That's like that 70s show thing.
And that 90s show
That's
thing.
what I mean.
That's
Yeah.
right. So here are some examples. In the past 5,000 or so years, these things have happened. The ability to digest milk as adults has happened with people in Europe. So Europeans tend to be able to digest milk, where in other places of the world,
Yeah,
not.
lactase retainers. Good
That's-
job.
That's right. In Asia, people develop drier earwax.
What?
Oh, that would be nice.
Yep, right? It would be. Yeah, I don't have that.
What?
Yeah,
Who's measuring this?
it's
Scientist.
What?
Dearest Reginald, I have written you to discuss earwax.
earwax across the globe.
I've noticed the average Asian person's earwax is much more crumbly than mine own, and I request several £1,000s to investigate.
And I just won't stand for it. It's not fair. Yes, in Africa, there's a resistance to certain diseases, right, like malaria or Lassa fever. In Inuit DNA, there has been found like a thriving on fat-rich diets.
Oh yeah, good
For
for
all those Arctic mammals.
Yeah, all that blubber.
And then this one, I think, is like the wildest. In about 3,000 years this has happened. There's an increased blood oxygen content in the blood of people in Tibet.
Good for them.
That's cool,
And
'cause they live
and
in
is
thin
that
Right.
is that persistent though, or are they like because we can we do like high altitude training for athletes and stuff, but when you don't spend a lot of time at high altitude, you just kind of lose that.
Great question. I do think so. The research suggests they're looking at the comparison in the past. They think this evolved over the past 3,000 years.
Okay, so even compared to past Tibetans, they have a much higher blood oxygen.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because there's a gene that is coding for it.
So
were
are like
a mutation.
They
are like
selected within their
successive
population.
generations getting just like more like sharp, like they're not as much in a fog because they're not like oxygen starved. And it's
Right.
like-
They're like focused enough to have sex and reproduce.
that's the key. That's funny because usually for me it's a result of being unfocused. It's like
Yeah.
I'm distracted and I should be getting work done,
And suddenly you're reproducing.
and then I'm reproducing.
Oh, wow.
Right. Well, it all evens out, Julian.
It does.
And this is like a small percentage of our genes. We're talking like between 7 and 8% of our genes that are starting to have this change, but that's a relatively short amount of time. So that was very interesting
It's
to me.
also, I've heard of the malaria resistance too, but I remember learning a long time ago in a biology class that the recessive genes that when people have them that result in sickle cell anemia are also the genes that when you just have the one recessive,
A double recessive.
Yeah. When you just have the one of the recessive genes, though, it also makes you more resistant to malaria, and so that's why African populations like have that. But yeah, like I it's an interesting trade-off of like, oh, cool, like malaria, the deadliest thing ever for human beings, like you avoid, but sometimes you get sickle cell anemia.
Right.
Like
And-
if we broke our bones a lot, like I was saying in the superpower thing, maybe we would have more people with this like unbreakable bone gene, but we'd also see more people with double recessives that would have brittle bones.
Yeah, but then they die out, and then
out.
then that's if we allowed them to, right? But now we're at the point where we keep everybody alive, or we try
goodness.
to. We do our best, but some people are like, I'm not wearing a helmet, and then they go ride a motorcycle.
Well, there is this really interesting thing that I have as sort of a an asterisk of technology and innovation that we've created, and are we including that in our idea of evolution? Because we have created a system in which certain things we don't need anymore, right? We don't need to worry about lions and tigers just like jumping into this window right now and eating us for dinner, right? We have other things to worry about, but that's not generally one of them. So we've created all kinds of technologies and all kinds of innovations to help us live longer and be healthier and live long enough to reproduce. So yeah, there's a little sidebar thing of what are we counting?
Yeah.
Because some people think that bionic adaptation is evolution and us becoming cyborgs is the future, and that's the future, but is that evolution? I'm not convinced.
Good question.
Yeah.
Maybe the evolutionary component of that would be like our immune system, better deals with implants or
Right.
something like in 1,000 years, 100 years,
Right.
a few thousand years. But right now, based on your annual, we had existence 200,000 years ago, we had farming only a few thousand years ago. Technology is, industrial revolution, we're a lot like order of magnitude even less. So we're still barely started.
Right. Which brings me to my next question in this, which was, well, what's coming down the line in the next few thousand years?
Right.
If it takes about that long for these microevolutions to be seen, well, what do we have that we're going to need to adapt to next? So, of course, climate change, right? Lots to go along with that. The energy needs are going to continue to increase as we have more people. This is all sort of with the, we're assuming we're going to make it. Yeah.
We don't accidentally nuke ourselves.
Or just, flood ourselves or...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this is just the set of constraints that we're working with in the operation of the understanding that we have found a way, right? We have to adapt to climate change rather than just be wiped out by our own making. Yes, Trace.
I had my hand up. Thank you. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Is this where Waterworld comes in? The documentary Waterworld?
We will all evolve Kevin Costner's hair.
Yeah, we will become Kevin
Those
Costner.
long, beautiful locks to protect us from the sun and overexposure.
May Costner be with you.
Interesting.
And also with you.
I had a different theory about hair, but I'm interested in your...
Yeah, you went less hair and I went more hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
okay.
I'm going to do great in one of these worlds.
We're going to have to just see what the mates pick.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's right. Sexual selection could totally override any of the natural selection things, and we could just be like, well, it doesn't really make any sense to have hair anymore, but everybody loves
But
it.
the ladies love it.
And that's what matters. So, that could be our demise. We'll see. So climate change, energy needs, technology, of course, is going to continue to increase and expand in the next few thousand years. And space travel is probably fairly likely in the next few thousand years. Again, if we make it that long, we're probably going to end up going to other places.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? So then what is the most likely future for us? Like, what is, as far as scientists and writers think the next, trends in evolution are going to be?
Right. So based on, the things we're seeing now and where we think we're going, what are we going to get?
Right.
Okay.
And a lot of scientists and also a lot of people just writing articles about it on the internet think that we're going to be taller. We are going to be prettier. Okay, another theory you may have heard of is will our brains get giant?
I've never heard that.
About you specifically?
Yeah,
or-
it's already pretty big.
Yeah.
My brain, mostly my head.
You got a big brain.
Good brain.
Got a
good
good
big brain.
noggin.
Mine's
Good
mine's
brain.
huge and very smooth. They tell me. Very.
Your brain?
Yeah.
Oh.
I get a
told
lot
you
of
that?
compliments from neuroscientists.
Nice.
Yeah, they're like, "Wow, I've never seen one so smooth." And I'm like, "Thank you."
It's oh man, that's funny. So there's like the sci-fi movie version of future humans or things that are more developed and they have giant brains and tiny bodies. And the chances of that happening are pretty slim. One of those reasons is that the brain right now is fairly efficient, and there's a lot to do with the proportion between our body size and our brain size, and we're getting taller, but the chances of our brains getting that much bigger is pretty low. And the constraint would be the pelvis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It all comes
This has
down
always
to the
been
pelvis.
Yep.
the big human stopgap is like just the size of the birth canal. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Too big, not going to happen.
No.
There's a great quote from the Australian Museum that I wrote down because it is, quote, "The pelvis is a compromise." There's more to it, but I thought that was just a perfect
That's
statement.
great.
That's great.
It is a compromise between upright posture, bipedalism, and the size of the birth canal. So yeah, we just can't get that much.
Yeah, yeah. This is. I remember. I was always curious about like why is it that like gazelles can be born and then they're walking within hours, but babies are so dumb for so long and so useless. And it's because I looked into it. The theory is that we're born with our brains relatively less developed compared to other mammals. Because if it was more developed and our heads were bigger, you couldn't be born. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And
So-
we have time to develop.
So if our brains got bigger, it wouldn't be that stereotypical like giant brain, like skinny little body. We'd have to have big old hips,
Big
too.
old pelvis.
Giant.
Just so we'd
Yeah.
be so curvaceous.
Yeah.
We'd all
Where
be
would that baby
hourglass
come
shape.
out?
That's right. And
Or we have to be really dumb for a long time.
Very pencil
We're
shaped.
just like, we come out like extruded like Play-Doh.
Cone heads. We'd be cone heads.
And
So
then
you'd like
we slowly be like, oh, that kid? Nah, his head's not even round yet.
oh yeah.
He's an old pencil head still.
you gotta once you get them like Play-Doh, you gotta then roll them around between your palms.
That's right.
Their
get
head,
the
personally.
red to get
Yeah.
the round baby head shape.
Before they dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could do fun things. You could like pretzel knot like the baby head and then grow up with like a big pretzel.
There are historical fashions where they would like form the skull of babies so they would be more pointy and
Yeah.
stuff in some like ancient
Yeah.
cultures.
and thus more desirable to that
Yeah,
breed
yeah.
of that species of fish I was talking about earlier.
So the chances are, though, it'll probably get smaller. Our brains, if anything, might get a little bit smaller.
Is that
won't
because
need-
of TikTok? Is that the influence?
It's already begun. Probably because they would potentially get a little more efficient, possibly a little less fatty. There's just they'll probably stay about the same, but maybe a teeny bit smaller. We may also not be as physically strong because along the lines of what you were saying with the chimps, we don't need to do the things that chimps need to do. We haven't in thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
So our upper bodies have become less strong because we didn't need it anymore. And so we just, that was just not as efficient. So might be not as physically strong, but taller, very lithe.
So that's nice.
Very nice.
Taller and prettier, but dumber and weaker.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, maybe not dumber. Brain size and intelligence are not
particularly
It's not a
linked, yeah.
1-to-1, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody
Yes.
thinks.
Although
right?
there are some people who think we will get dumber, and that is there's just actually so much.
I think
to these
that goes
theories.
back to the we have to keep everybody alive thing.
Well, also one of the ideas is that we have evolved physically to get
Yeah.
here, but our technology and our society has evolved so fast that our brains psychologically weren't really ready for it.
I have said that forever.
Yeah. So
I knew it.
So we're like kind of freaking out all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Because
There's too much happening.
Too much happening. We're used to being in small groups where we have a few intimate relationships for a lifetime. Now we are with all kinds of people. We're living in cities on top of each other. It's very anonymous a lot of the time, but we're interacting, so we form like thousands of relationships.
Yeah.
Dunbar's number. What's up?
What is it like? We can only have space in our brain for like 157
I think
other
it's
individuals or something.
65.
60,
It's
even
really
lower
low.
than I
It's
thought.
really low.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and after that we just can't care. We can't be asked to care about
We
more
physically
individuals.
cannot make relationships with more than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like catch-up numbers.
Yeah, it's 150 connections. You're right. Nailed it.
Nice. Oh, more than catch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of depression. There's a lot of anxiety. There are a lot of these things that are making people like, we think a lot and we don't know what to do with those thoughts and we're real sad. And so it is possible that we'll evolve to just be like a little happier, a little less thoughtful. But I mean, I don't mean thoughtful as far as caring. I mean, like, that's just one idea, that we may be just
We
like
overthink it less.
Yeah, maybe. Which I think is interesting because we have to be clever enough to come up with these technologies. So I'm not completely convinced that is going to be true, that we're going to be like dumb golden retriever. Sorry, golden retrievers. You're not dumb. What? That was rude
They're,
of me.
average.
They're
intelligent.
just sort of like
lovely.
goofy, happy,
Super cute.
I'll say it. I don't care if I offend all the golden retrievers listening. You're dumb. You're good dogs, but you're dumb.
They're good. They're good dogs.
I have a chihuahua. I can't talk on this. I
can't.
I
They're
have
pretty
no room to dog shame.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We're not talking about technology very much, which I'm actually appreciative of because I think a lot of these conversations end up just in a technological rabbit hole.
Yep.
But there is one technology that I think is really interesting that might affect our evolution. I wonder if you looked into it. And so I want to ask. Julian earlier mentioned if you get taller, the ladies love it. What if, because of our technology, it doesn't matter if the ladies love it because of cross-sex pairing? Like we can just mix gametes from any two humans. It doesn't matter what their sex is because we have the ability to do that now on some level. So it's like, would that make evolution jump? Because it's like we're mixing in ways that maybe we didn't before, or is it just like, oh well, the amount of DNA that matters, that determines your sex presentation is not really relevant.
Yeah,
to evolution.
Yeah, like, are you talking specifically about whether the gender binary as it presents as sex features will disappear?
Well, what I'm saying is, yeah, technology could make it so that like two people fall for each other and want to reproduce. You just go to the reproduction center and they take your gametes, mix them together, you got a baby. Doesn't matter how you were born, because it doesn't. Like, for the most part, there's very small amounts that you need from specific groups, but generally speaking, we already have 3-parent children.
Yeah.
So
as long as that organism can live long enough to reproduce, then that can happen, right? Genetically, those genes can get passed on to the next generation. So that's a really good question, and a really big part of this discussion is our ability to genetically alter, to alter genes through technology.
Yeah.
Like, how is that going to impact our evolution? Do we call that evolution? Do we call that innovation? At what point are they permanent changes to those genes that then get passed on to the next generation and the next and the next? At what point are we going to be a different species if we can't reproduce with...
Yeah, when are we distinct from the humans of today?
Possibly
when Reginald
that's
writes
it.
his letter and says, I've found a new species.
When our earwax gets so dry
Their
we
earwax
cannot-
is similar to the Atacama.
the children just cannot, they have no earwax at all if they
Right.
crossbreed with the wet earwax people, and then now you're new people.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
conversely to that, I think the technology piece is absolutely valid and possible. There's a lot of ethical questions there. We're changing the genetics of embryos and all that stuff. And, there's just a huge... We could have an entire podcast about that. The other thing, though, conversely, is that we're getting more alike. Because we are intermixing so much with people across the world in ways we didn't 10,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. So the future may be that we all kind of look the same. We're all taller, prettier, and we all look the same.
We're all kind of olivey colored.
Right, exactly. Yeah, with
Sounds
dark
hot.
with dark hair
Can't
and
wait to have a
probably
tan.
dark eyes.
Great.
Right.
So pale.
Sounds excellent.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, we'd all be beautiful
Oh my God.
astronauts. But then I was also thinking, what do we need to survive the climate crisis, right? If we are going to make it long enough to become all these beautiful olive, brown skin, brown haired, brown eyed, beautiful astronauts, like, how are we going to make it at all to be attractive for mates and also just to adapt to the environment? So I think we're going to need to evolve to consume less water. I think we're going to have to be able to maximize our oxygen. So thinking about the Tibetan example, because we're going to have a bunch of other pollutants in the air, we're going to, less going around. There's more of us demanding all of these needs. So I think we're going to need to be heat tolerant. whether that's our skin or whether that's building shelters, changing where we live. Do we go underground after all? Like, where are we going to live?
Wait.
I don't know. You might see where I'm going. We're going to be able to need to digest microplastics, I think. This is not something I found in the research, but I think it makes sense
There's
because
just plastic and everything. At this
so
point.
much.
Yeah.
Like, what if we evolved to be able to digest it and actually like make it useful for our bodies? And then I think we may pretty quickly lose the vestigial and the expendable organs. We're already seeing like fewer wisdom teeth appearing in people where like I had my gallbladder removed, so I'm evolutionarily advanced.
Oh yeah, you're one step ahead of us.
Thank you so much. What's it like to be
You could get an appendix and be 2 leaps forward.
That's
If you
right.
get your appendix removed, yeah.
could be
If
ready
you
for
go in
space.
for one, why don't you just get it all?
I
just
think,
get it out
like,
of
while
there.
you're
Yeah.
down there, Doc, just if you could make a little detour, just get that little dangly bit out of there.
Did you know that before going to space, astronauts will have their gallbladder and their appendix removed because
know that.
you don't need them to survive, and it's really freaking hard if they cause a problem in space?
Did you know that astronauts have to conduct surgery closures and things? Well, so as Chris Hadfield put it, there are a few people in Houston that I stapled closed. Because they had to learn how, just
Right.
just in case.
Just in case.
Gotta
Just
do
in
it.
case.
That's right.
If it's just you up there,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sidebar, kind of, because it is related, but I didn't get into it in this because there just wasn't enough time. But I do think that if we colonize Mars, that could end up becoming a different species of person.
That's, yeah, my instinct is definitely, like, okay, Earth, as you said, it's changing, but like I do think we're going to adapt. I do like the idea of being taller, so when sea level rises, you're
More like the sheep
You're
in
more
the
ahead
bath.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that I think is valid. But definitely, I think just like a drastic change of scenery, like spacefaring or another planet with different gravity and like different environmental conditions, is really gonna, like, after a few thousand years of that, or several thousand years of that, the people that are in Mars or in space are not going to be compatible with whatever remained behind on Earth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. It's a completely new environment.
Yeah. And we see this in on Earth when species are separated by like a boundary that suddenly appears. On either side of that, they start to drift apart and become more and more different until they're eventually different species.
Two different. Yeah, right. So I think that could happen. But for as far as the folks here on Earth, I actually do think we're going to be hairless. Well, I think it's possible because
I think you just like hairless people. I think that's your thing.
it's
You're really
my goal for
driving
myself.
your team no hair.
As a small Jewish woman, this is my hope.
I hope for the future.
My hope for my own children. But I think that, like, why have hair if we don't need to be warm? You know?
Wow.
It's going to be hot.
I think hair is going to become a luxury status symbol, right? Like, people will evolve no hair, and then certain people will start wearing wigs, like French nobility, because they'll be like the people who have affordable air conditioning in this hotter world, and it's like, oh, look, check me out. Or maybe they'll even have like fake body hair wigs, just like a first like
a merkin?
suit,
Like
yeah,
merkins,
like
but for your
like a full
arms.
body merkin. Great band name.
Full body merkin.
Full body merkin.
Full metal
Full
jacket,
body
full body
merkin.
merkin.
Full metal jacket. The unmade Stanley Kubrick film, Full Body Merkin.
Yeah, that one's sitting on a shelf somewhere.
I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But hold on,
Wait.
before we do, I just want to point out that one more thing that may happen is that we will become, get ready for this,
I'm ready.
we will become a little bit more kind. We will become nicer because we are encountering so many more people and we don't have those in-group, out-groups the way we used to because we needed them for survival. We already are seeing it, even though it feels like the world is falling apart with violence all the time. It's a lot less violence than it was before. So we're already seeing that trend, and I think that that's going to continue. It's going to have to for us to solve these problems. It doesn't need to be a superpower. It can just be the next step in evolution. Which brings me back to all the things this sounds like. What does this sound like? I mentioned like hairless. We're going to get rid of our vestigial organs. We're going to have an increased resistance to disease.
You know
Are
what?
you going to tell me naked mole rats are also the most empathetic animals discovered by science? Is that where you're going with this?
I like to think that they are kind.
Based on nothing. I just look at a naked mole rat and I go, that's a sweetie pie right there.
That's a nice thing.
They live in large groups of like 300 in a colony.
Oh.
They get along. They have a lot of collaboration. I like to think that naked mole rats are kind, and we are one step closer to evolving into them.
All right, so the future is mole people ruling the world. Congrats, conspiracy theorists.
You're right.
You're right, just early.
But they're happy. They're happy mole people.
Happy bug-eating mole people.
And they're underground because on the surface are 8 billion sheep.
With X-ray vision. And we've tied it all together.
How tidy.
Well, thank you so much, Sophie, for bringing that incredible evolutional discussion. Thank you, Julian, for answering the question, what happens when there are more sheep than people? And I did fine.
Thank you for making me happy with the current lack of superpowers that I have. So I appreciate that.
Very welcome. Sophie, where can people find you after this podcast if they want to know more about your thoughts?
I'm on all the socials as Science with Sophie. So sciencewithsophie.com, Science with Sophie on Instagram, Science with Soph on Twitter because of that character limit.
Ugh.
But that's where you can find me.
What about, are you on the toots? Do you toot on the Mastodon?
Do I toot on the Mastodon?
It's what it's called on Mastodon, is a toot.
We just want to make sure that
when
you're
you send
future-proofed,
out,
just in case.
Yeah, I toot on the Mastodon. I also have a YouTube channel, and I guess I'm not really on TikTok, but I might be in a million years.
Thanks so much for listening to That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. We are so excited to get this show out to y'all, and we hope you love it. Please subscribe or follow the show so you can get all of our episodes. Let us know what you think by leaving us a review, following us, sharing, starring, hearting, or just generally positiving. If you have a ridiculous, silly, far-out, wild, crazy question that you want to submit, go to that'sabsurdshow.com, click on Ask a Question. You can also just send us a message on one of the major social networks. We're on a bunch of those. That's Absurd, Please Elaborate is produced and hosted by me, Trace Dominguez, and Julian Huguet. Our producer-editor is Kyle Sisk, and the executive producer is also me, Trace Dominguez. You know, maybe someday we'll have a bigger staff. Our guest this week was Sophie Shrand. She's fantastic. You can find her on the socials at Science with Sophie, and thanks again for listening. We'll see you in the future. And in the meantime, keep asking silly questions, because they're the best.